Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas here with you this morning. We are speaking with Joanne Barber and Jane Harris. They're both from Lake Center Christian School. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
And when we talk about Lake Center Christian School, we've talked to folks from there before, but I don't know that we've really gotten to talk about your two areas. And so really excited to have you here. Jane, you work with the Independent Studies Program. First of all, tell us about you. How did you get involved with that?
Well, I taught full-time at Lake Center. I've been involved in the homeschool community for years, doing assessments for families, and they have been planning for years to start an independent studies program. There are several schools in this private schools in the state of Ohio that have similar programs, and we felt that it was the Lord's leading and His timing to begin our program.
I think it's so interesting because to hear about a school, any school, working specifically with homeschooling families, that's kind of unique. What's the thought behind that?
Well, first of all, our rationale for any program at Lake Center is consistent with our mission statement of assisting Christian families and their churches in the equipping of students for lifelong learning and service to Christ. We saw a need in our community to reach out to homeschool families.
When a family has decided to homeschool their children, what kinds of things does Lake Center come alongside with them and provide for them?
They may use their own curriculum, or we provide curriculum. As family coordinator, I meet with families once a month and review the work that the families have done, look over their schoolwork, give them guidance, answer questions, and of course give them encouragement and support. This is an opportunity for students to be in a structured school setting and find what
they can learn from what Lake Center has to offer.
Yes.
I'm wondering, what is the goal here? Is it to get new students?
It is to help meet the need.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our students, for example, have been former full-time Lake Center students, and the families have chosen for various reasons to homeschool, such as health concerns or families that travel because dad works, travels out of town, and they can go as a family. They can take their studies with them on the road.
We hear so much about a conflict between homeschooling and a more traditional school setting. This sounds more like you're working together with the families.
Yes, this is a blend. There are many hybrid programs that are developing, as there are so many alternatives in education today, and so this gives a beautiful blend of both.
What would a typical day look like? So, I guess if a child is being homeschooled, it depends on what they want to study that day, right? A lot of it is so child-centric when you're working with homeschooling. So as a school is working with the families, what does a typical day look like in their lives?
Well, first of all, Monday through Thursday, the parents instruct their children in the core subjects, including biblical instruction at home. And then on Fridays, they attend Lake Center for the full day for enrichment. They have their own classroom, but they join with a traditional classroom.
Can I stop you right there a minute? So they come to Lake Center, the students do come to Lake Center for a day.
Yes.
And you have their own classroom, all of the homeschooled students together in one classroom?
That is correct. We have 7 grade levels, K through 6, in one classroom together. It's not unlike a little one-room schoolhouse.
I was just going to say that.
Yes,
That's like a one-room schoolhouse again.
Yes, we use a unit study approach.
Who teaches that then? Or are there multiple teachers in that room?
No, I teach the
You
class.
are with them.
I am with them.
Jane, how do you do that? Okay, now this is so interesting. You've got all these different lesson plans. Students from K through how far?
K through 6th grade.
And at all different levels, all doing different things once a week.
Yes.
And you have to be everything to everyone.
Yes.
How do you do that?
First of all, they are assigned to a traditional classroom for chapel, lunch, and recess. So first thing in the morning, as our younger students, K through third graders, go to chapel, the fourth through sixth graders remain in the classroom for instruction, and that allows differentiated instruction. Then they switch. Then that's when I work with the younger students. As all students then return to the classroom, we do group activities together.
What would some of those be?
Some of the activities, well, I develop unit studies. So, for instance, as we were studying Legos and robotics, they would have challenges. We learned about the history of Legos and a little bit of the history about robotics. They did a lot of hands-on activities. I would give them challenges. We made mazes. One of our students, I should say, sibling group of children did an extension activity where they designed a model home with Legos where they could lift off each floor and look down in and see an actual model with furniture and such. We've studied building bridges where they learned all kinds of materials that they could use to that would be sustainable and hold the load. They learned about different kinds of bridges. So those are just examples.
Oh, sounds so fun.
So they're unit studies of interest. But then our lunch schedules and recess is staggered, so per grade level. So as some of the younger students are leaving, then I'm able to work with the older students, and then, of course, the reverse on the tail end of that schedule.
What about extracurricular activities for the homeschooled child?
They are welcome to participate in some of those. At this point during our regular school day, they visit the library at the end of the day. They are able to participate in ACSI, which is the Association of Christian Schools International, competitions such as Speech Meet and Spelling Bee, where we hold the initial class meets in our class and then send the winners for the competitions with the other grade level students.
It's so interesting to see how homeschooled students do in those kinds of situations. Pretty well, huh?
Yes. and I found that their confidence does grow as they go along and they are settling in.
Very cool.
Yes.
So good. Joanne,
hi.
You're with the preschoolers. That has to be fun.
It is. It's big fun.
So what ages are you dealing with?
I mainly have kids who are 4 or 5-year-olds who weren't quite ready to head to kindergarten. We occasionally have some older 3s join us as well.
And you said before we went on that I said, does anybody really talk about philosophy of education? And you said everything we do comes from our philosophy of education. So tell me what that is.
Because we believe as early childhood educators that everything we do should be developmentally appropriate, that means we have to know where our children are developmentally. So we, when we're doing our coursework in school ourselves, we learn about like Piaget talks about how children learn about their different stages. We learn how you develop from the inside out and from the top down. We learn that all the kids come as the centers of the universe, and you have a classroom full of the centers of the universe, and you have to let them know that there are other people around. And so everything grows out of that philosophy. And then, too, as a believer, I know that my kids are image bearers. And so in my classroom, I have to remember to give them a chance to work out that image. God is creative. He created the whole world. I give my kids a chance to be creative. God is merciful and just. I work with my kids on how can you be merciful and also show grace to one another. God is a God of order, so I teach my kids how to have a good time, how to be creative, but it's not chaos.
Are these lesson plans that you incorporate intentionally, or are you always on the lookout for those teachable moments with these 4-year-olds, or a mixture of both?
I do lesson plans, but my curriculum is my students. And so everything I do grows out of the kids I have this year. I was talking with a college student last week, and she was saying how the education students that she goes to school with said, I only had to do these lesson plans once, and I never had to do them again. And I almost fell off my chair because I do new lesson plans every year. I don't have the kids I had last year. I got
right.
different kids this year.
Totally.
And so while I know there are state standards that I incorporate, I don't teach to them, but they're part of it. While there are state standards to think about, while there are things I know that preschool kids need to know, how it looks every year and how I incorporate it every year is different.
Plus, also to keep it fresh for you. It'll be very, very boring, I think, to be
that's
doing,
one of my
guidelines.
guidelines.
This time we're doing blocks.
I know. If I'm bored, I figure my kids are too. So that's also a guideline.
4-year-olds run the gamut of what they know
They sure
and
do.
their experiences and who they are and their little beings. And how do you begin to get all that energy under one roof and meet those needs of each one?
Well, that again comes back to the philosophy that children learn through play. And so we spend a huge portion of every day the children earn free play. Sometimes we call it independent exploration if I want to sound educational, but it's free play. And so my room is set up in centers, little interest areas. I counted yesterday because I knew I was going to come talk to you. I have 22 different interest areas.
Really?
And you come into my room, you see little child-sized furniture and little nooks and crannies and so there's a math center, there's a reading center, there's a writing center, there's a science center, there's a workshop to take stuff apart and build stuff. So everything in all these different centers, the kids can approach at their level. You know, how a 3-year-old plays with my blocks isn't the same as how the 6-year-old who's getting ready to go to kindergarten does, but they both can use that center. Same thing for everything. So as the kids play in the centers, they're approaching it as they are able to, as they're ready to. At the same time, working on all those things I want to. Like when the kids are in blocks, they're working on math. They don't know it. They think they're playing. You know, when the kids are playing in the little dress-up center, there's a ton of language development going on. But if you ask them, what are you doing? They say, we're playing kitties. You know, and how they do that is different. Even how they do it in January compared to September is different. They
Right.
approach things differently.
You're so sneaky. They're learning while they're
Yeah.
having a great time.
Stealth learning.
I want to be in preschool.
Come.
22 centers. How many children do you have?
We'll enroll 24 in the program. I only like to have 18 come on a day.
Okay, so no two have to be in the same center at the same time.
No, but sometimes they are. I mean, that's part of what we
part
want
of
to
it is
do.
learning and sharing.
Yeah, and even things like, you know, I had a thing last week where, a week before I guess it was, where 2 little boys wanted the same toy. And these guys were best friends. And they both had an end of it, and I had it. And I can step in and I can say, I'm going to set the timer and you can have it. I don't. I sit back and I kind of let them see. Let's see, can they work it out? And if they can't, I might model. In fact, what I just walked up and I said, "Hey guys, it looks like what you're doing isn't working." And they both looked at me like, "No, it's not." And I said, "What could we do differently?" You know. And if they didn't know, I might suggest. I might model. Sometimes someone makes a suggestion, and if it's off the wall, I say, "Well, I suppose you could do that. Do you think it would work?"
What you're saying goes back to that book, Everything I Have Ever Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten.
Yep.
I would say also in preschool.
Absolutely.
How many businesses would you love to walk into
No.
where there's a terrible takeover taking place and you say,
No.
okay, what looks like what you're doing isn't working.
That's
How
right.
else can we do this? And brilliant
Yeah.
approach. What does a day look like in preschool?
When the kids, we operate every morning. We open the door at 8 o'clock, and between 8 and 8:30, they kind of dribble in. When you're 4, I don't think you need to be there at a certain time, you know. So we dribble in between 8 and 8:30, and the kids who are here earlier, all the centers are open and there's free play going on. I often have something that we don't have out normally out for the kids to try. This morning we had stumps with nails hammered in, and the kids use them like with geoboards with rubber bands. So, you know, for the first little while, they're coming in slowly. They're washing their hands, going to bathroom, and that kind of thing, playing. And about 9-ish, we have a little group time. And we have our Bible time during then, and we sing, and we practice just things like days of the week. We don't pound this at all because preschool kids don't learn that way. But I want to give them a hook when they get to kindergarten or first grade. They've heard this before. So we do a little calendar stuff, a little weather stuff, and a little learning to sit on the carpet kind of thing. Because a lot of these kids have never been where you have to do what somebody else is telling you to do,
Yes,
in a
yes,
group situation. So that group time is very short at the beginning of the year, but as the year goes on and we get into project work, that group time can expand. We have stuff to talk about. And then we go back after group time and have more free play. We often have an art project going on at the same time. that is not out in the morning when they first arrive, but we set it up. And that's always process art, where the kids are not making like ducks out of paper plates or, whatever the cute craft is. Parents love those cute crafts, but they're not really beneficial to the kids. So we do process art where the product isn't the goal here. It's the process of exploring, painting, whatever. They were painting with squeegees today. It was big fun.
How fun. I'm going to stop you right there.
Okay.
We're going to take a real quick break.
Sure.
We'll be back after these words. You're listening to Our Community.